I'm Coffee Kevin. Once and for all, what is Mocha Java? You see the name Mocha Java? Well, you don't see it as much anymore, and we can talk about why that is. But the Mocha Java, I recently found a coffee that claims to be roasted in what may be the oldest roaster functioning in the U.S. It's an ancient Probat. Probat's a roaster manufacturer, like Boeing's an airplane manufacturer. You get a Probat roaster. Pull Cafe claims their Probat is the oldest one in the world. I found this coffee on Amazon. It comes in bean form, but it is packed in a can. I was shocked to open it and find the coffee was still fresh. I, like a lot of people, probably associate canned coffee with stale coffee. The reason for that is because when coffee's ground and packed in cans, it even undergoes a process called staling first. And that is, I guess, the elevator finally arrived. I don't know if you heard that. Anyway, apparently they use, this company uses a heavy gauge steel that allows them to package fresh. And by the way, they are beans. This is not, well, we don't have to show that shot, but this is bean coffee. It's not ground, so there's no staling involved. Anyway, they package it without staling. I already said that, and actually, I'm not sure. They also use this, if the steel strength is really what's happening, because when you open it up, it's not steel on top. It's just looks like plastic with a one-way valve on top. Regardless, I could see foaming during the brew cycle, so I wouldn't hesitate to purchase this if you're concerned about freshness. It's roasted a little darker than I might wish. It's a Pacific Northwest roaster, and that's a region known for roasting longer than the rest of the U.S. Now look, before I get a lot of cards and letters, which of course would be fine because it would be interaction, nobody sends cards and letters, but before I get an email or a text message, just to explain that, everywhere in the U.S., everywhere that I've been in the world of coffee, there are now people roasting at all sorts of different roast colors. But the Northwest did have a reputation for roasting darker, and that's where Pete's came from, actually the Pacific Northwest, San Francisco area. But, Starbucks certainly is known for darker roasting, even though Pete's were really instrumental in helping Starbucks develop. There really ought to be a whole treatise on that. Anyway, this coffee is also roasted using wood-burning heat on this older Probat roaster, and it was common for lower airflow drum roasters to roast with a greater variance between the outside and inside, which I think I've already pretty much, explained. I did not find that to be true in this coffee, by the way. I found it very evenly roasted. Very little. We can get a close-up on these beans, Mike. That'd be great. Yeah, thanks. You can see there's just a little bit of oil, but I'm pretty sure they're claiming this is full city roast, not a second crack roast. Looks really good, and they do get a distinct roast flavor, and part of that's probably the wood roasting. Wood, even though the temperature reads the same, wood imparts heat differently than other forms of heat. And just like most of us have forced air heat in our homes, and if we're in the my part of the country, we're certainly using our heaters this time of year. If I remember my wife's Uncle Tony, who built houses, once explaining to me that wood heat, that radiant heat was more radiant. It imparted a heat that made you feel warmer at the same heat rather than at the same temperature rather than forced air heat. So it's kind of an interesting thing to me, and I do find that anything you use to roast coffee, any variable you change, like a lot of things in coffee, makes a big difference. Most interesting to me is the name Miller, and I wonder where I got the name Miller, but it's somewhere I got it on their website or something. The first special coffee I ever purchased was a bag of coffee labeled the House of Miller Mocha Java. I recall it was a red and gold package. It had a subtitle, Fortified with Sudamo, emblazoned on the front. I later discovered the roaster, which was Richheimer Coffee Roasters here in Chicago, who also used old Probats. Actually, they used old Jabez Burns. Jabez Burns is another roaster manufacturer. Added some Ethiopian Sudamo, and I must say it was a fabulous note. It was really, I would say, the coffee that got me another level into coffee and into discovering everything about coffee. They were the first roaster I ever visited. Anyway, this Mocha Java, this House of Miller Mocha Java that I originally found, started me on this lifelong journey to find the others. Well, before we go further, let's discuss what Mocha Java means. The word mocha is probably the least understood and most overused word in coffee. It's likely because it has multiple meanings. Mocha can mean chocolate, as sometimes people will say the mocha bean has a mocha note, and they'll be referring to chocolate. I've heard it used a number of times. Mocha can describe a brewing method, stovetop mocha. Mocha always suggests some of the oldest coffee growths in the world, at least to me. Mocha is a port in Yemen from which many coffees in the earliest days flowed. I think that port is closed. I really haven't visited there, but it is associated with both Yemen coffees and some Ethiopian coffees that were shipped through the port. The Dutch, of course, ran the coffee export business, back to Mocha Java now. Indeed, the coffee business for much of the world. To give you the story as briefly as possible, Yemen and Ethiopian coffee farmers were known for growing the best coffee in this time. They were the original coffee for most people. If you had the money in Europe and you were drinking coffee, you were getting your hands on Yemen and Ethiopian coffee beans. This is before it was all the stories about smuggling it to the rest of the world. The coffee plant, however, let's talk about the first smuggling I know of the coffee plant, was brought by Dutch traders to Indonesia, which they at the time controlled. It was a colony, and created a second source. This is a typical business thing. You'll see this throughout history. This in turn gave the Dutch businessmen a chance to challenge the Yemen and Ethiopian farmers and force them to lower and keep their prices lower and provide them with cost-cutting, cheaper beans. So it turns out Indonesia was a great place to grow coffee, but it was really brought there as a marriage of convenience. Anyway, to me, the best of all is the blend created when both coffees from Yemen or Ethiopia is combined with beans from Indonesia, specifically Java. And the blend became known as Mocha Java. And the term Mocha Java may also have beans of many types commonly available today. You'll see Mocha Java. There's very little enforcement, if there's any laws on the books about truth in advertising. Most high-priced Mocha Java blends are likely to be made with what's called the original recipe, which is one to 3 parts, one-third Yemen mocha and 2/3 Sumatra. Why did I say Sumatra? I realize Sumatra is different in Java, but at the time, the earlier Mocha Java blend was most popular. Sumatra beans were shipped as Javas. They were just labeled Javas, and they were considered the highest of the Java grades. In the 20th century, the Mocha Java blend became simply a balanced blend to feature high-acid bright coffee balanced with a smoother bean. And in this case, it would have been the Yemen, or the Ethiopian would have been the higher acidity bright coffee. And then the smoother bean would have been this Indonesian Java, Sumatra. Even relatively fastidious roasters would supplant the mocha beans with Ethiopian other bright coffees, while Sumatra could be Java, Papua New Guinea, any number of lower acid perceived beans. frankly, the blend might mean nothing regional at all. I mean, I'm sure that in the world of coffee, from my experience, there are roasters that happily issue a Mocha Java blend and has never had a Yemen bean in it, an Ethiopian, a Java, or a Sumatra bean in it. Since I like both of those coffees singly as well, they're both rather rare. I'm sorry to say, because I wish they were more widely available. The fact is that it's pretty common probably to get see things labeled Mocha Java, although I think the name's worn off a little bit lately. I just don't. For one thing, blends aren't as popular among specialty coffee aficionados. Again, I think they should be, but I'm just talking about what is, not what should be. So you don't see it as often, but when you do, now you'll have a better idea what it means. Even a fastidious roaster like George Howell used to sell a Mocha Java at his Boston Coffee Connection stores, and George used I believe, Yemen, Sumatra, and he had another part Colombian that helped either balance it out or gave him a flavor post to control it. It was an excellent coffee, so I believe me, I would wish he would bring it out again. How about it, George? Mocha Java is one of my favorite blends, and as I've said before, I'm not such a purist that I avoid blends. In fact, I really enjoy them. I used to really like Allegro's Mocha Java. Kevin Knox was the roaster at the time that I started getting Allegro coffees, and he was really a fastidious, and he was a really, I would consider Kevin, and I hope this is not offensive to either of them, a disciple of George Howell's, and he was, but you know, lately Allegro's been roasting it darker, just a bit dark for me. I like it a little lighter. Let me start this up, by the way, because otherwise we're not going to be able to enjoy our coffee in time. If anyone has a favorite Mocha Java, please add it, below. Like I said, I'm always looking for one. Now let's get to some CoffeeCon news. And are we? Oh yeah, we are. I've been getting a lot of exhibitor and attendee inquiries about our 2020 schedule. We hope to announce our Fall Midwest CoffeeCon shortly. I do not as yet have financial support for any of the others. My goal is to get as many CoffeeCon events launched as possible. If you're interested in supporting us, contact us. If you're interested in attending, we'll announce them as soon as we're sure, which usually means as soon as we have the $50,000 deposit to put down on a venue. I also launched our Patreon page. It's a work in progress, but it's there. I often have people who appreciate our objective reviews, the interviews with coffee luminaries, and our many videos, including this show, and of course, the CoffeeCon events. Patreon lets you support us directly. It's a fun, like passing the plate in church. If you can just watch, that's welcome too. But of course, we do want to continue, and it costs something. Mike and I really want to get our own separate sandwich today, so if you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm Coffee Kevin, and I did want to go out on brewing this. We're going to enjoy this fine cup of coffee today. But thank you for watching, and hope you learned a little more about Mocha Java today. See you soon.